Well, welcome to Dragonheart. I am joined just by Mark Griffiths today, but we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about. It's been a very crazy week to be a Wrexham fan, hasn't it, Mark?
It certainly has. So crazy that Bill just couldn't cope and he's escaped the country. But I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I believe he's scouting some players in Ligue 1 for us. There's a possibility that Bill will close the Mbappe deal by the Easter weekend.
Well, I know he's got a few very, very private meetings with Mbappe.
That sounded appropriate.
Right, we'll redo that.
No, we will not. That stays in.
Okay, that stays in. Okay, right. He's got private meetings with Mbappe. Yeah, so maybe we'll see him in a TikTok shirt next year. Who knows? Anyway, we'll get on to the good stuff now. We've got two games to talk about. We've got a little short Dibble interview, and we've also got a few little bits and bobs, whatever else is going on in the Wrexham world. So let's get to him.
We've got me photobombing Ryan Reynolds like a good one.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear it, Mark. So this is Dragonheart.
I'm Liam McClendon, and this is Dragonheart.
Stockport, Mark. One hell of a game. It was a game that I actually didn't cover. I was in the crowd for. And I'm actually reasonably happy for that because the Rex Rent stand was absolutely rocking that day. But yeah, let's go through it, Mark. What a game.
It was just magnificent, wasn't it? I mean, firstly, wasn't that really obviously the two best teams in our division? In fact, I'd go further, and I know you might accuse me of sacrilege here, Chay, but was that the two best teams that I've seen in National League since Wrexham went down? I think quite possibly. I know you're going to get angry because you're going to start saying, what about the 98-point team? But I'm starting to head that way when I'm asking the question, is this a team that, and the Stockport side, are these two teams the two best ones, well, certainly since Wrexham and Fleetwood, but it was such a high quality game. It was tight, it was tense, and I've got to say, the way we're playing at the moment, you have to be exceptionally good to make us be involved in a tight and tense game because we're flying, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we're completely flying, and so are they. It was the fine margins, isn't it, that really won us the game, Mark?
Absolutely. Both sides had chances. Both goalkeepers made good saves. When you look back at it, their goalkeeper made a lot more saves than Dibble, although, as I'm sure we'll get to, he made two magnificent saves that made a huge difference in the outcome of the match. But, I mean, you can't ignore the facts. Stockport, before that game, had won 20 out of 21 games. I mean, that's absurd. They were on their club records for the most consecutive away wins in their history. And let's remember, Stockport are not a new club. Stockport go back almost as far as we do. That's the first time we played Stockport was the 19th century. This is an ancient club with a lot of history. They'd set the record for their most consecutive away games. If they'd won at the racecourse, they'd have set a record for the most consecutive wins in their history. And if they'd not lost at the racecourse, they would have set a club record for the longest ever unbeaten run. This is a club in the sort of form that you just never experienced. They're an amazing team. And for me, they were second best. We deserved to win it. I accept it was close, but then when you play a team of that quality, when Liverpool play City this weekend, it's unlikely to be a battering because both sides are high quality. But same with this at our level. But honestly, I just was to get a win against a team of that quality and to look as good as we did. I think that tells you everything about where we are at the moment. I mean, for me as well, the atmosphere is crackling way before the match. I mean, what's your perspective from behind the goal? There was no need to stoke this up. Everyone arrived knowing exactly what stakes there were.
Well, I've got to say, Mark, let's compare the Wrexham and Fleetwood thing to the Wrexham and Stockport thing that's going on. Yeah, Wrexham and Fleetwood were by far the best side that season on the pitch, but Wrexham were the best side off the pitch. This year, both sides have tremendous support, don't they? And you've got to give a lot of credit to their away fans because they were making a hell of a noise. And there was no, if you were to take someone who didn't know that these two teams were fifth tier English football, you'd think that was probably a League One match, wouldn't you, Mark? With the atmosphere, the crowd, the quality on the pitch, and just how professional everything looked.
I've got to say, you are just so right. That was a League One match in terms of everything, including quality on the pitch. And that's why I need to roll back on something that I think I said on Dragonheart a few weeks ago, that I liked Notts County as a club. And I was I said to some people at Notts County, I hope it's us and them who go up, to the extent that I was saying, we'll get the title off Stockport. Don't worry about that. You just make sure you do in the playoffs. Now, I haven't changed my mind. I do like Notts County. I like a lot of people who are there. But I've got to be honest, having watched that game, it wouldn't be right if it wasn't Wrexham and Stockport in League Two next season, because we are just far too good, aren't we? Both teams for that level. And I know I've said this before, but when Pete Wild, the Halifax manager, tried to play mind games before they came to ours, and talking about, they're a League One team, it's a League One club, a League One crowd. He was trying to take the pressure off his team, but without maybe fully intending to. He absolutely hit the nail on the head. We are two divisions too good for this division, and that is why we are looking like we are. I mean, we do look magnificent, and it's an absolute farce if both teams don't go up. And not only, just like it was when we didn't go up in the 98-point season. It's an absolute farce if we don't go up, or Stockport don't go up. And again, illustrates the stupidity of the Football League not opening the door to another promotion place. Because the fact of the matter is, by only having 2 up, 2 down, they create a stagnant situation at the bottom of League Two, where there are basket case clubs that should be flushed out and allowed to reboot themselves. And then there's thriving teams at the top end of the National League who, a little bit like the Championship, spend too much gambling to try and go up to a better place, and in doing so risk implosion if they don't go up after a couple of good seasons of heavy spending. You look at teams like Chesterfield and frankly Stockport. If they don't go up, they've spent a ludicrous amount of money. You can't keep going back for more and more. They could have problems. Fortunately, I don't think we would be in that situation, but still, it's not healthy. And if I was a Football League club, I'd still vote for 3 up, 3 down, because the truth is, teams drop out and stay down. Look at us. If we maybe dropped out, well, maybe we're not the best example, but teams that hover around the bottom end for a while, just being poor and rescued by the fact that only 2 teams go down, end up rotting away, getting into the sort of states that some teams have when they go down, they go straight through again. York and people like that. And then it's a hell of a scrap to come back up again. And I just think it's healthier for Football League teams if they do drop out, and then there's more promotion places to jump back in. So, yeah, in all fairness, Wrexham and Stockport have got to be the 2 to go up this year, or something wrong has happened, I think, really.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the playoffs, isn't it? Is not always the best sides do go up. I 100% agree. There's going to be a lot of League Two fans who'll say, "Oh, why would we vote for the 3 down? Because it's like turkeys voting for Christmas." Yeah. But it's very short-sighted, isn't it? In the long run, in my opinion, because if we can go down, if the likes of us, Notts County, Stockport, Southend, Luton in recent years can go down to that level, anyone can. Anyone from League One can go down to that level, and in my opinion, it only takes a couple of bad seasons.
Yeah, you are stuck. You really are stuck. So, it's makes more sense to make it into a 5th division, I would argue. It doesn't have to be taken out of the National League's hands, although it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I must admit, I've sent a question to the excellent Price of Football podcast. I know you love that as well. It hasn't been answered yet, and I understand that because they get lots of good questions. So basically, Kieran Quinn and Kevin Day, who are absolutely outstanding, they talk about the financial side of football and the political side of football, and they are in contact quite often and have had on the show Tracy Crouch, who did the fan-led review of the game. And one of the things that recommended strongly, of course, was having an independent person at the top end, a commissioner, if you will, running football. And my question to them is, would that person be likely to have the powers to impose structural changes on the Football League? Because to me, that's the only way I think we will get revision of this system. I think you're right. Even though it's short-sighted, Football League clubs won't vote to increase the promotion relegation spots. Is there scope maybe for an independent regulator to step in and say, it's not your decision? There's going to be 3 up, 3 down. I hope so.
I hope so too. Even if we do get promoted this year, I'd still hope so. Because
I would still vote for it, because I've just been through the last 14 years. Yeah, exactly right.
And look at how the two teams who went up last year are doing this season in League Two. It's not like National League teams are coming up and doing terribly. Sutton have just been in the Pizza Cup final, and had a very tough, tight, entertaining game against Rotherham. And Hartlepool are 12th, sitting in mid-table, And League Two is very, very tight. Sutton could even make a run for the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So,
and if Wrexham and Stockport go up, I gotta be honest, I got this thought in my head. If we go up, this is going to be one of these cool rivalries. I sort of hope we go up at the same time as well, because a proper rivalry is developing between two clubs who are both operating at League One level, as you rightly said, and maybe have the potential, if they get up towards League One, to be investing towards going higher. It's we'll get a proper twice a year highlight facing against them. Because I reckon if we both go up, we'll both be going for promotion next season without a question.
Yeah.
I think it could be quite fun.
We've both got the budgets. I look at Stockport's squad, and our squad will probably make a push for the playoffs this year in League Two. Yeah. I personally think, anyway. And I honestly, I
think we're both League One teams. I really believe in that.
The top eight of the National League is this season would beat a lot of League Two teams.
Yeah,
in my opinion, and especially if Chesterfield didn't have Shamanga get injured, they would have been up there with it as well, wouldn't they? So
I think they would, but I don't think even with him they're the quality of Wrexham and Stockport. I'm not trying to dismiss them, but I do think that Wrexham and Stockport now, I honestly mean that. I'm not saying we're League One clubs, although I think we are, but we are League One teams. The playing staff are both our squads are strong League One squads. Shamanga's a superb striker, no question. They have other very good players, but I think you can see how things have gone since Shamanga got injured, that Chesterfield were maybe a little over-reliant on having a player who's, boosted better than the rest of the division. I don't think they quite keep pace with us personally.
Yeah, it would have made it a little bit more interesting. Look at Halifax as well. They've been excellent this season. Yeah. I'd fancy a lot of the top 8 National League sides to go up against anyone in League Two.
I think there have been plenty of times since we've dropped down where you look at the top half of our division and think, I bet that's better than the bottom half of League Two. And this is one of those times.
Yeah, I think the National League has been very strong this year, even so much compared to last year. It's a lot stronger.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose and this is Dragonheart.
But anyway, back to the Stockport game. It was a really tense affair, wasn't it? And all credit to their fans. They were very loud and we were very loud. But Stockport could have been 1-0 up before half-time, couldn't they? They missed an absolute sitter.
Yeah. Well, there were two, weren't there, really? I mean, well, the first one wasn't a sitter. But it was like you say, until added time, it was tight. Maybe they were slightly better. There were times, I think, when our midfield was a little too deep and allowing them to come on to us a bit, but we didn't look troubled by it, and it was just a really tight, tactical, tough game where you see the managers tinkering a bit. We know that we can hit Palmer and Mullen, and they can cause problems, just the two of them up there. And so we weren't scared to have the midfield a little deep, but I think they went a little too deep and let Stockport have a bit too much of the game in our half. But we still had spells where we looked threatening and moments where those two looked threatening. But then, like you said, suddenly in the very end of the half, the whole game just cracks wide open, starting off with Dibble making that fabulous save from Quigley. It was a brilliant save with his right foot. And that was a huge, huge moment for me. And then almost straight away afterwards, Sarcevic, how did he miss it? I mean, honestly, I was sort of trying to explain it at the time, having only watched it live, saying, it sort of sat in front of him. He's leaned back, and because he's made contact on the half volley, if you lean back, it sort of exaggerates how high it's going to go. But when you look at it again, no, he's just make any sort of contact except the contact he made, and he scored. I can't believe he's a good player. Another one they brought down from the Football League. I can't believe he missed that. I think that was crucial. I don't personally really subscribe to this idea of the best time to score a goal is just before half-time myself. But I think it certainly would have an impact on the game if he'd taken that chance, or indeed if Dibble hadn't made that brilliant save.
Yeah, because it would have forced us to really chase the game then, which I would have thought would have sat into Stockport's hands a little bit more, wouldn't it? To be fair, they have some class players as well.
Yeah,
and going into the second half, I think we really, really grew into the game. And I think first half was Stockport, second half, I think we were the better side, weren't we?
Yeah, I thought it was marginal in the first half, but the second half, we did step up a bit. We literally stepped it up in terms of the midfield, getting in their faces a bit more. And we started to take turns more, didn't we? And we began to make chances. And Hinchcliffe already made one really good save in the first half, but he made a string of cracking saves. The one from Jordan Davis in particular, I thought that was a goal. But he made a string of excellent saves, and we really started to open them up. Although, having said that, the save that Dibble made from Connor Jennings, he doesn't like his ex-teammates, does he? Connor Jennings with his other foot was a hell of a save. It's quite interesting because I've heard lots of people talking about how that was the better save. And I think the first one was the better save. But it doesn't matter. The fact is, those two saves, the fact that we're talking about that shows how good they were and how important they were. Because as we'll hear in a bit, I spoke to Christian after the match, and I basically put it to him that we don't score Mullen's goals if he doesn't make those saves, because that game isn't stretched like that if Stockport are winning. And it's because he made those saves that we were able to score at the end. And I strongly believe that. Those were two enormous saves, weren't they? Really brilliant saves at crucial points in the game, which kept us in it and allowed us to have that grandstand finish.
For me, maybe some people think I'm wrong, but I thought he was man of the match for us.
Yeah.
I thought you could argue that, Mullen scores two amazing goals, but I think the goalkeepers are always forgotten about, aren't they? And for me, it was a bit of he needed that performance after Dover to silence his critics, and what a magnificent performance by Dibble. And it was great to see, because I was worried that maybe the pressure of him having to have a good performance would force him to make more mistakes. And again, we didn't break down the Dover game. I thought a lot of people were unfair with him in that game. He was a bit of a scapegoat, and I think the game probably would have been the similar if Leighton was in goal, because that was just one of those freak crazy games that you have, that you can hear about in a special Dragonheart that's coming out what
Tuesday.
day? On Tuesday. It's going to be like a documentary style Dragonheart, unseen before, and tune into that one. But I think he needed that big performance, and he gave that performance. And
well,
happy.
Should we hear from him now, do you think, and see what he had to say?
Yeah, let's hear from him now.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Christian, we're on the pitch after we've just got ourselves to Wembley again. Strictly speaking, the fourth time in our history. I think it's the first. I don't count two of them. Yeah. You know why? Those two saves you made, one with each foot, have taken us to Wembley, because that game doesn't get into that situation if we're behind, does it? I mean, I'm not saying that, grovel to you, but let's be honest. I mean, those are huge saves.
Yeah. You know, that's what I feel like I'm in the team to do. You know, any goalkeeper would just make the big saves at the big time. You know, we look at Saturday, we all weren't good enough. You know, for me to the strikers, but we still managed to get 6 goals and see 5. But you know, a game like today against a good side, very good side, and we've managed to book a place to Wembley, and we're all absolutely buzzing by it. Absolutely buzzing.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? I mean, you've come back from, I mean, last Saturday was rough for everyone, I think, individually, and rough collectively for everyone. I'll say it frankly, you got more criticism than you deserved. Some of it from me, because commentating, I thought that cross the corner for the second goal was much closer than I thought it was. So in the commentary, I'm saying, should have come for that. I mean, I've seen it again. No, you can't come for that. So you've had that. You bounce back like that. I mean, to come out and put in a performance like that, I think it's. I know that's what professionals do, but my word, I mean, that's massive for this club.
Absolutely huge. You know, I'm absolutely buzzing. I hardly never played at Wembley, and you know, hopefully I'll be selected to play. But it's criticism, you have to deal with it all the time. You know, you get criticised by your own fans, from other fans, people behind the goal. It's just one of the things that I know what I can do, and I know I can come out and prove to people I can do it. But I won't let it affect me. And you know, I think I've come out today and I've shown that I can step up to the plate on big occasions and do what I can do.
And it shows as well, because I think people often make stupid comments, and I don't mean about you, about football in general. They want to ascribe things to how mentally strong a player is, or whatever, you know, how do they react to things. Mental strength is to come back when people are saying things and perform like that. I know, because I'm a fields goalkeeper, and in my pathetic career, nothing like yours, I let in the worst goal ever in that goal. Back pass when you could pick up back passes. It was embarrassing. I didn't let it go out, get it out of my head, and so I let in another stupid goal. It's all about mental strength as a keeper, and it's been able to think, okay, last Saturday's not optimal, so I go again. That's what made today, I thought, outstanding. Even if it's what you want out of a keeper, it's brilliant from it.
You know, that's the hardest thing which I've had to learn from when I was younger. You know, if you make a mistake, I'd always used to think about it, but now you can't change time. You know, it's happened, and you go again, and you've got to try and do your best. The next shot, the next cross, the next kick, whatever it is. But you know, I'm absolutely delighted today. I'm absolutely buzzing, I can't tell you, but you know, now we've got to get our heads down and focus on Tuesday. We've got
that's a bit awkward, isn't it?
No drinks for me tonight, but an even bigger game on Tuesday night. And
I'll have one for you, don't worry.
Thank you.
I'll have a few. Tour of Flanders tomorrow. We'll have a lot tomorrow as well.
But like honestly,
you the longest serving player in the club, you deserve this. And your loyalty as well, because you're having to fight against high quality keepers ever since you come here, but you're a hell of a figure around the club as a character and as a player, and so you've earned this, let's be honest.
You know, like you said, I give 110% every time I step onto the pitch of the football club. You know, football's a game of up and downs. You know, Saturday I come off absolutely fuming, just because of what happened, the 2 goals, you know, but collectively as a team we weren't great anyway, but you know, I'm still disappointed in making mistakes, and even though we won, I wasn't celebrating. You know, I was trying not to swear, but I was you know, I wasn't in the best mood all weekend, but you know, we've come out today, we put on a good show, and we've beat a good side, and we're going to Wembley, so
exactly, can't complain about that.
Cannot complain at all.
Thank you so much for what you did for me today and the rest of the Wrexham fans, mate. Trust me. Thank you.
Let's go and enjoy it when we go down and try and win the trophy as well.
Brilliant.
Wrexham's heartbeat. This is Calon FM.
Well, nice to hear from Christian Dibble, cracking goalkeeper. Yeah, a goalkeeper that I think, a player that really hasn't had a long stretch of games, like a whole season, has he, Mark?
No, I mean, the longest stretch he had was when Lington was injured at the start of that second Brian Hughes season, wasn't it? I mean, I just think that the journey he went through that week is quite something. You know, he starts off with that game against Dover, which, as you say, I think people were overcritical of him, myself included. And as you heard, I admitted that to him. The second goal from the corner, I thought was down to him not coming for it. Having looked at it again, it wasn't. He couldn't come for that. The punch for the fourth goal is awful. But it's not just him. Tozer just doesn't deal with the ball over the top, which is very surprising, and then waits for something to happen. There's both of them, I thought, were equally to blame. But, you know, people point the finger at Dibble. They don't point the finger at Tozer, who's just been a rock all season. But there were other things, you know, I feel he definitely took it to heart, that those 5 goals. As you heard, he definitely wasn't happy about it at all. And, you know, that's make or break for a goalkeeper, isn't it? How mentally strong are you? So to come back in a game like that, and especially with Lee Camp having come in, so an experienced alternative, I never thought for a second Dibble wouldn't start against Stockport. I don't think Camp is, well, quite match sharp yet. Remember, he's only played 2 games for Clitheroe this season, that's it. And he is there, I think, as emergency backup, not to challenge for the first team place unless things go horribly wrong. But to know that Camp is there, and to know there's pressure on his place, and to know how massive the game was, and to know how good Stockport were. And when he plays in the home game against, who was it? He played a home game fairly recently. It was like a crowd of 8,000 odd. It was the biggest crowd he played in front of in his entire career. You know, these are big games for Christian Dibble. And so to step up to that match in those circumstances, make those 2 huge saves, and also, I should point out, coming back from a little edgy moment at the start, because he had 3 kicks in the first 10 minutes, and none of them quite went where he wanted them to. 2 of them went out of play. There was nothing major, but there's a lot of edgy fans who aren't sure about him. And you could, certainly around me, you could hear that bubbling. Yeah. You could hear people just muttering when he mishit the ball. And you're thinking, okay, so the pressure's on him. In the Dover game, that thing happened that makes me really angry. In the Dover game, the fans and their loyalty were utterly unbelievable. They were magnificent. But there was a bit of sarcastic cheering when Dibble just received a simple pass back to him because he hadn't made a terrible mistake. And I hate that. You don't do that to your own players. You do that to your opponents. You know, and so there was still a little edgy residue of that going on in the Stockport match. And he overcomes all of that. He also, when it was 1-0, if you remember, they get a free kick on the halfway line, Stockport. Dibble, it's not just Dibble, but the goalkeeper's got state responsibility for his defensive line. Dibble and his defence decide they're going to hold a massively high line because we don't want Stockport winning a knockdown, dropping in our box. So free kick on the halfway line. And our defensive line wasn't just outside the box. It was further up the pitch than the first cut of grass outside the box. So it was like 25, 26 yards out. It was an incredibly high line because we don't want them nodding balls into the goal mouth. And then when they try to lift it in behind, Dibble attacks it and Dibble deals with it with a massive punch and gets rid of it. And with Stockport, with barely any time to strike at us, they've had a chance to put it in the danger area. And due to good decision-making and then decisive work by him, bang, that's gone and that's up the pitch. And then when they get the ball back in again, what is pretty much the last gasp for them, Dibble takes the catch. Not a difficult catch, but, you know, there's pressure on him. Drops on it, Maybe style for a bit, just to chew the clock up. And then rather than just kick for the corners, sees that Mullen's isolated because Stockport are overcommitting, understandably. They've just brought a centre-back off and brought a striker on. And he nails the kick that Hogan messes up for Mullen to make it 2-0. So again, good decision-making by Dibble. You called him man of the match. Well, I sort of insisted in the commentary that Mullen had to be, simply because not only did he play well, but he scored 2 goals that got us to Wembley, one of which was outrageous. I just felt, in context, he's got to be man of the match because that's an historic thing he's done. But in terms of performance, Mullen, Dibble, Hayden, all 3 of them, I thought, were utterly magnificent and in their own ways were match winners. And frankly, the rest of the players did well. There was no weak link, but yeah, Dibble, yeah, I agree with you. he was a match winner. Let's put it that way. He was brilliant.
And for me, I'll always pick the goalkeeper myself, because I think people won't pick a goalkeeper usually, even if they have a fantastic game. And I think usually a goalkeeper has to have an extraordinary game to win man of the match. But yeah, me and Bill, I think, agreed that Dibble should have won man of the match, and absolutely fair play to him. I'm so happy for him, and that we'll talk about it later. The Barnet game, he didn't have to do anything really, did he? So yeah.
I tell you what, as well, I mean, that's a brilliant story of redemption, I think, for Dibble to step up like that. But in a much smaller way, I would say the same for Hayden, who I thought, right, as if anyone cares what I think about this, but I'll break it down. I feel Mullen's got to be man of the match because he does something historic. And that goal in itself is just unbelievable. Dibble is as much of a match winner as Mullen for the saves he made and when he made them. But for the full 90 minutes of excellence, Hayden, who's had a little wobble in his form lately, I think purely because he was ill, wasn't he? He played a game, had to come off half-time against Bromley because he was ill, and has not quite got back to his normal levels. Well, he did against against Stockport, didn't he? I mean, he was absolutely massive, and it's a much smaller thing, but he just had a little dip in his levels, and then when it mattered, that was the Red Baron in all his pomp, wasn't it? He was magnificent.
The best centre half in this league by a mile, I think.
Ben Tozer doesn't agree. Neither does Max Cleworth.
I know they'll disagree, and don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Two fantastic centre halves, but I think what you want out of a modern day centre back, Aaron Hayden has everything, doesn't he? He has speed. He's good on the ball. He's great in the air. He scores goals.
And we've said all the lovely things about him already, haven't we? We everyone knows we are an Aaron Hayden Appreciation Society, aren't we?
Yeah.
But I would say that as this team has bedded in and everything's clicked into place more, he's looked a lot more effective doing what Cleworth does and getting up in support of the wing backs.
Yeah.
Which is something he's always had his locker. As we've said before, he played a lot of his career as a wing back because, he's not a sort of Hall Johnson style whippet, but he is quick and he's got that. I always think the Germans always used to, in the 80s, have wing backs like Briegel, who were just like man mountains, who were fast, strong, and just drove in straight lines and just devastated you physically. And Hayden's that sort of wing back. I'd much rather him as a centre back, but as that wide centre back, he's got the best of both worlds, doesn't he? And the way our pattern of plays now are settling, it's just perfect, isn't it? He fits it like a glove.
100%. I look at Cleworth and I look at Hayden. If say something was to happen, like a red card in the game, I think both of them could play as right back or left back in a flat back four. Very versatile, very good players, and
Mullen,
it's just.
What did you think of Mullen's goal? It must be nice to be standing behind the goal watching that.
Oh well.
Wow.
I was just about to get onto that, Mark. So the one thing we haven't talked about so far at length is that goal. It's going to be known as that goal. It's had how many millions of views on Twitter? It all starts from that great tackle by McFadden, though, doesn't it? Which was it was amazing, fantastically timed. Was it McAlinden? Was it?
Yeah.
Of course it was. Yeah, because there was a substitution, wasn't there? Which I think the Jarvis McAlinden substitution was very effective in that game as well. Also, of course it was. I thought it was McFadden for a second. Yeah, the great tackle by McAlinden, which then did land at Jordan Davis's feet for the through ball. Was it? Yeah. And then, what a beautiful goal by Mullen. As a goalkeeper yourself, what do you think about the goalkeeper being that far off his line?
Well, I believe that a different Wrexham podcast. I won't mention names, but I believe that they said that Mullin had been tipped off that the keeper strays off his line. I don't think there's much to be said about him being out of position there, really. I just think that when a player is charging down the line like that, you're not really expecting him to dink you from 25 yards on his weaker foot into the top right corner, flicking the bar on the way in because it's so perfect. You play the percentages, I would argue, as a goalkeeper. You take up the position that allows you to deal with the most likely threat, and then you cope. You invite the player to do the impossible thing. If you think about Mullin's one-on-one earlier, remember he missed it and Johnson missed it at the back pass horribly, and Mullin's all on his own. And although I think strikers often get a bit too long to think about things when they're in that position, nonetheless, Mullin's scored goals from those positions. He's reliable. I mean, Hinchcliffe plays that beautifully because he doesn't retreat and he doesn't overcommit. He takes a sort of quite brave high position, and he's essentially saying to Mullin, you could chip me here if you want to.
Yeah.
But that's the low percentage option, isn't it? If you can take the keeper on and the keeper backs off a little bit and shows you the corners and you can hit the corners, you've scored. Whereas if the keeper does that to you, you're thinking, all right, trying to hit the corners is going to be more difficult now. But if I try the chip, there's a lot more can go wrong with the chip. You can miss-hit it, you can under-hit it, or you can over-hit it. There's a lot more to go wrong. So I think Hinchcliffe, with that one-on-one, is right. And I reckon if Mullin is operating with thoughts in his head from beforehand, I think he's thinking that Hinchcliffe did that to me on the last one-on-one. Well, if he takes those sort of brave positions to try and push me into decision, okay, then I'll call his bluff. And he backs himself. He backs his ability to be an absolute flaming genius and then delivers on that promise. I can't complain about that.
You know, if the goalkeeper's in that position, 9 times out of 10 in this league, they're not going to hit a shot like that.
Exactly.
You know, if he does actually manage to chip the goalkeeper and it does go on target, the keeper still might save it.
It had to be perfect to go in.
Yeah.
It had to be perfect. And on his weaker foot as well. I know he's 2-footed, isn't he? But I mean, wow. I mean, just wow. It was just wrong, wasn't it?
It's what you expect out of a Premier League level or international level player. I did see a tweet from the Barry Horns, the band that play at the Wales game, saying, "What does everyone think about a Mullin call-up?" A lot of Swansea, Cardiff, and Newport fans who are uneducated were like, no. I honestly think after finishing a shot like that and the form he's in, why not? Why not? Oh, amazing.
Sort of, I have reservations in some ways about Mullin getting called up for Wales. About he is 5th level, but having said that, I mean, like you said, that level of skill for that goal, and it's not as if that's the only time he's done something excellent this season. It wasn't a fluke. He is capable. He's got that sort of thing in his locker. In a much simpler way, the second goal was a bit like that as well, wasn't it? It was audacious the way he took it. But I know it's a terrible cliche, and I apologise. But if Mo Salah had scored that goal for Liverpool, that's goal of the season. End of. Isn't it?
That's a very a big cliche thing. If Messi scored that, like the Robson Canning thing, Messi scored that, it'd be known as the best goal ever. But
it's true in this case. Imagine Messi doing that for Barcelona.
I could imagine
that's your goal of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah.
That's a Puskas award. Let's push for him to win the Puskas award.
Well, you are on FIFA's radar and what have you, so
yes, they do love me. Yeah.
But, as a guy that is known by FIFA, maybe you can put a word in.
Well, yeah, I should emphasise that Chay is terrifyingly right. My over hysterical commentary of the winning goal against Dover was retweeted by FIFA. Yeah, that FIFA, and got 250,000 views. And I then replied to it and they immediately responded. I mean, let's be honest. I say they. It's it's not actually FIFA as such. It's a lad running their social media accounts. It's not Gianni Infantino, but here he comes. They come straight back to me, and we had a little chat where I was being praised, and then I said something that ended the chat essentially. And this was partly at the behest of Wrexham fans who were commenting and saying this, and I thought, okay, I'll double down. I'll say it myself. I said, I'm available for the World Cup draw in Qatar, and I've got a lot of experience at children's parties, and also I've done lots of talks for the Qatar construction industry at their conferences. Probably that was a mistake, and the conversation was over at that point. They didn't reply. I got to say, I was watching Jermaine Ginas thinking, that could have been me. It was heartbreaking. FIFA's loss is well, actually, when I think about it, my loss as well. Yeah, it didn't turn out very well, did it? I shouldn't have pushed it with that whole construction industry dig.
Well, to be fair, I think most people have more charisma than Jermaine Ginas.
Oh, bless him. Let's not crucify poor Jermaine.
Jermaine Ginas.
Although I will say that I did feel a little bit uncomfortable when he turned to the female footballer next to him who just read a list of countries and said, "Oh, really well done, really well done." It's like, mate, women can read a list of countries off an auto cue. It wasn't a very, I wasn't impressed with him saying that. But apart from that, he's a safe pair of hands, wasn't he?
Well, if he was a Marvel superhero, he'd be called Captain Obvious.
Oh.
Anyway,
I wouldn't have been a safe pair of hands. I might have said anything. I might have gone all full Norwegian delegate on them and started calling them out. So,
well, yeah. Well, moving on from Jermaine Ginas.
Oh,
watching this game as well, which made it even more Hollywood than what our games usually are, was Ryan Reynolds, the man himself. He was there and he was really enjoying it, wasn't he? And I think he just looked like he was observing it like every other person in the stands, which just makes you realize how invested he is in it and how invested both of him and Rob are.
It was good, wasn't it? It was really good, and it was nice as well because it was kind of sweet. Like I said, I'm a teacher. A number of kids who are at the game in that stand. And we're talking about how, there's a clear view of it. I mean, he was sitting in the front of that overhanging aviation suite. And they all get a good view of Ryan Reynolds loving the game as much as they were for 90 minutes. I think that's really good. It's a nice little connection. I'm quite glad they've got the glass front and the front of that. I think it's good to be open in that sense. It was brilliant. It did lead to my magnificent photo bombing of him, yes. I'm afraid.
Come on, explain, Mark.
Well, basically, after the match, it was clear that something unusual was going on. Players were warming down as normal, but some other players were coming out who had been playing, and you thought, okay, is that because we've just got to Wembley and people are coming out to sort of share the moment? The stadium had emptied, so there were just a few players on the pitch, Wrexham officials, club sponsors, the sponsors of the match. And then all of a sudden, down comes Ryan Reynolds and his documentary crew. And so he was going around the pitch, basically having a good old time, congratulating the players. And I thought, I'm getting down there now. Let's have a look at what's going on. So I popped down there and I thought, Christian Dibble was out there. That's when I got that interview with Christian Dibble. So we were having a little chat on the side of the pitch. You got up against the advertising hoardings by the tunnel. And those electronic boards, they have a hinge and they open up. So we got like a little right angled shape and we are tucked into the right angle, having a chat away from everything else so that, the sound quality is okay. As we finished, we were walking away. Funnily enough, full disclosure, I was telling him about the horrific goal that I let in at the racecourse years ago at your end, at the Wrexham end. It was a bit horrible. just as he's spluttering in astonishment because it was an own goal, a back pass that I let in, and he's spluttering and saying, hang on, so you're saying you let that happen when you were allowed to pick up back passes? And he was astounded at the atrocity I was describing. Ryan Reynolds suddenly bursts in to congratulate Dibble. And then, to be fair to him, immediately apologises to me and says, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. He said, I'm sorry. Gives me a bit of a Ryan Reynolds handshake. I said, you're just lucky to be shaking my hand, Ryan. All that, man. I didn't really say that. I just gazed into his eyes and said, thank you. But then the thing is that they chatted. I couldn't get around them in one direction because I was blocked in by that right angle of the advertising boarding. And I couldn't go the other way because the documentary crew immediately filled that gap. So they're filming across me. The only way I can get out of this situation is to walk across their shots and sort of shove them out of the way. So I said, okay, I'll just stay here. I'm doing no harm. Till I realized that all the other photographers, the newspapers, the club photographers, everyone else are opposite me, taking photos of Dibble and Reynolds with me standing in the background, videos, everything. And I'm just standing there on my own in the background. I thought, oh, this looks really like pathetic photo bombing. And I just thought, what should I do? I genuinely toyed with just slowly bending my knees and disappearing down under the screen. Decided not to, because that would either make me a viral legend or that bloke who did that really odd thing behind Ryan Reynolds. So I decided not to. And the best thing I could do was just stand there as if, this is what I do every Saturday. I just stand by the advertising hoardings right here. Nothing's going on. I just stood there trying to look like, a normal day at the office. So I ended up in everybody's photographs looking like some sad fanboy, but a bored fanboy because I was trying to look nonchalant. Oh, God.
That's hilarious. You couldn't have backflipped or anything like that out of the way, or
held up a sign saying "Hello, Mum."
Well, that is a hilarious story. In all fairness, Mark. Another hilarious thing was Barnet's defending on Tuesday.
Oh.
After that, we're going to be breaking that down,
like the Wrexham team did. that was smooth.
I'm Jake Hyde, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, Barnet.
Dodgy Barnet.
I remember before the game thinking to myself, you know what? After the Dover game and after the Stockport game, I could do with a lot more relaxing game, really, where we, convincingly win 1 or 2-0, and it's just never in doubt. And Neil agreed, who was on commentary with us. Can we have a relaxing game where we win convincingly? Boy, we got that, didn't we, Mark? It was never really in doubt, was it, that we were the far superior side?
Like I said before, I'm a teacher. People who couldn't get to the game asked me how it went, and I just couldn't resist putting up the old meme of Homer Simpson beating up the crusty burglar and the children standing in horror with one of them saying, stop, he's already dead. That was what that game felt like. It was a battering Barnet.
It was. And if I was a Barnet fan, you travelled all that way up, you'd be thinking, what have I just watched? It looked like two teams from completely different levels. And the way they set up was so strange, wasn't it? They had that big towering, I'm assuming he's a centre half usually. What's his name again?
Greenwich. Well, Greenwich and Richard Everton, wasn't it? The left side.
Yeah, Richard Everton, he was playing at left back, wasn't he? And he's a big towering stopper of a centre half, I'm assuming usually. Yeah. He looked completely out of his depth, didn't he? Bless him.
It was, I'd say tactically, it was very odd. It almost looked like a back three with no left wing back. And all right, I'm trying to work this out. Okay, Barnet have nothing to lose. Their manager's trying to be cute. But I understand. Okay, they also congested the middle of the pitch quite a lot. It was quite odd the first 15 minutes, I thought, until we scored. There was a lot in my mind of like looking at players who were in the wrong sort of position. Like the game looked odd. The shape of the game looked peculiar. Too many players not where you'd expect them to be. And all right, I think they were trying to be clever. They know full well that if we get direct service to Mullen and to Palmer, isolated against centre-backs, then those centre-backs are in a hell of a lot of trouble. So I get that. They congest the middle of the pitch, so it's harder to drive balls into them. They have an extra centre-back in essence by making a left-back sit in, and as you said, he's a stopper. And somehow you're thinking, okay, so we sort of hopefully are cutting off the supply to them, and we've got extra cover if the ball does get to them. The problem with it was that they totally failed to stop supply getting to them. It was so easy for us to ping passes to them. And their centre-backs, well, dear listener, full disclosure, after the last link, when Chay said how bad Barnet were, you've frozen again, haven't you? Grr. Hello there.
You've come from the problem like that.
The problem.
You went, but
So I
the
said
problem.
They tried to stop the balls going through. Did I?
Yeah.
And they've got
Yeah,
the
and
narrow lads, so they're not outnumbered.
Yeah, and then you went
All
the
right.
problem. And
Right, I
then,
got it. Okay, three,
okay.
2, 1. The problem was that they completely failed to stop straight balls from coming through. We were finding them all the time, so that part of it didn't work. And then, right, full disclosure, dear listener, after his link into the last break, Chay said, was I a bit harsh on Barnet's defenders with the comment that I made about them? And I said, no, not in the slightest, because they were shocking. And the fact of the matter was they had, they had an extra man in the middle to deal with Mullen and Palmer, but they were all bad defenders. They had nightmares, so it didn't work. I mean, Richard Everson and Greenwich in particular were awful. They both made silly mistakes that led to goals. There was a point, you'll remember maybe in commentary, Chay, where Richard Everton, Greenwich it was, beg your pardon, just made a routine little sprint across the edge of his box and thumped it pointlessly out of play for a throw-in. And I said to you that he was so clumsy, and I kept using the word clumsy throughout that commentary when they were defending. He was so clumsy the way he ran across the box. I genuinely thought his hamstring had gone. I honestly thought a muscle had gone ping. But he was fine. It was just, they couldn't even run in a straight line. They were dreadful. And one of my clearest memories of the commentary, Chay, was hearing Neil constantly saying, oh, that's rubbish. Every time they got the ball, because their defenders weren't even trying to find teammates. I think they'd given up, to be honest. I don't say that lightly. But they were just thumping the ball in the crowd with no pressure on them. They weren't even trying to pass the ball forwards.
It looked like they were playing football on rollerblades, didn't they?
Yes.
It was really strange. And yeah, I think we were excellent. As their manager said in their interview, they're a team of high quality and we've tried a few things tonight and it hasn't come off. Fair enough. But it was just, they were lacking the basics. We were just thumping the ball up and they would just look like they were panicking. They were clearing they were running with the ball. Their defense was running with the ball when they probably should have just been clearing it. And they were clearing the ball like a rugby game as well, weren't they? Like just kicking it out into touch. And it was quite comical, really. And I felt quite sorry for their goalkeeper who made a couple of good saves. But yeah, let's talk about those for a minute then. We opened up the score line with an Ollie Palmer goal. He battled, didn't he? He battled with the defender. The defender probably should have just hoofed it away. Yeah, it was a strange goal, but well worked by Ollie Palmer, wasn't it?
That's brilliant persistence, shocking defending, but that is the point. You can hit Mullen and Palmer with early direct passes, and if you find them, the defender's in trouble. But if you don't find them, as long as you put them in the right sort of area, they are both capable because they're fair play. I mean, they're high caliber players, but they've both got a shift in. They will fight with defenders and they will make something of it. And that's exactly what he did with that. Just like with the second goal against Stockport, Mullen just monstering Hogan, who was a good, solid, straightforward centre-back, the cut above the Barnet ones. But he just made him make the mistake. If you give them someone to fight for, there's a decent chance they'll beat the centre-back and cause a problem. And then, the second one as well, I just thought was a sign of Mullen's quality of finishing. It wasn't the most difficult chance, but it's a tight angle, and he's just got no doubt. He just plonks it in the roof of the net,
Yeah, and again, Hayden winning a fantastic header again.
Yeah.
The most iconic duo this season is Tozer throw-ins and Hayden's head.
Yeah.
It forced a good save from the keeper as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
To be fair, Mullen got the follow through, which was brilliant. And then just before half time, Jordan Davis gets a goal too, doesn't he, Mark?
Very, very composed, wasn't he? Because he's got a good sight of goal on his right foot, but he knows he'd rather not. He wants to put it on his left, and he's strong enough and calm enough to work that and then hit it as he's being, I thought being fouled, to be honest. But yeah, strength, quality, calm decision-making. Jordan's just, he's a really class player, isn't he? He should be in the Wales picture, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think if he carries on playing like he does, maybe next season, if we get promoted, I think he will be, to be in all fairness. And then goal 4 for me, which was the most satisfying because Tozer hasn't had a goal this season, and he's been excellent. He's assisted many. He's been a big picture on many of throw-ins and the quality of delivery he has. Yeah, he gets a goal by burying it in the back of the net, and boy, did he love it. You could tell he's probably been itching to get on the goal sheet this season.
He shouldn't score any other way, should he? Just blasting the ball. That was perfect, wasn't it?
Pinging it, and he loved it, didn't he?
Yeah. And then the other person who comes in and gets a very gratifying first goal for us, McAlinden, who frankly could easily have scored a hat-trick. Anyway, he missed a good chance that leads to Hall Johnson's goal. And I think the main thing with that is just, apart from how easy it was to pick Barnet apart, just how it's just good seeing your wing back getting in 3 yards out for tap-ins. That shows how much on the front foot you are. That shows your system's working, doesn't it? But he finally got the goal, McAlinden, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was lovely, wasn't it? It was, and that maybe the keeper should have done a bit better with the first shot, but yeah, he followed through and got a goal, and we forgot about the fifth goal, the overlap.
Yeah.
Max Clareworth, he dribbles in.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
the star. Yeah, he's the star piece for that goal, isn't he? And hence why I thought at that point, if we ever play a flat back four and we have a wing back crisis, I think Max Clareworth could play left back.
Yeah.
His defensive quality, how good he is on the ball, he dribbles past them like he's Messi, and it finds Reece Hall Johnson. It was just so that game was just so satisfying to watch in many different ways. It wasn't on the edge of your seat stuff. It felt like a sort of a FA Cup game, when you're playing a team that's not quite there this season. But in all fairness to Barnet, they've been in reasonably good form. They beat Boreham Wood recently.
Yeah.
They beat Maidenhead, who we haven't beaten this season. And they beat Dover 6-0. They got a draw against Yeovil 2-2, which is nothing to be scoffed at. So they were a team obviously not on terrible form. Yeah, they didn't have anything to play for, but yeah, 6-0 at home. Excellent.
It was an indication of how good we are, wasn't it? That we made them look really silly. I don't want to be nasty saying that, but we made them look useless. But they're not useless, as you rightly said. They're in decent form. But it really was our game plan coming together. It had such a sense of inevitability about it. It was beautiful to watch. So I don't know. Where do you reckon Bill's titleometer will be now? Then?
Right. Shall we hear from him?
Sounds like a plan.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
So the super scientific titleometer has been whirring since those last couple of games. I think the Barnet match was sort of proof that we're going to push Stockport all the way. We're 8 points behind them, so the titleometer's at an 8. It's obviously only a 10 if we take over Stockport, but I think if anyone's going to do it, it'll be us. It can't be a full 10 because we're relying on them slipping up now. I think if the season had been, let's say, another 3 or 4 weeks longer, we'd probably be the ones to maybe take over, but I think they've just done enough to clinch it. And I've been saying all year, really, that the team that picks up form late February, March is always going to be dangerous, and they're going to be the ones to look out for. So hopefully that's us going into it. But I just think Stockport have got just a bit too much, and yeah, hopefully it's us if they do slip up.
This is Sean Brisley. This is Dragonheart.
Well, Bill's titleometer, we've just heard from him. What I think now of the title, I've been quite negative. I've been saying Stockport will win the league. Would have won the league before we got to our place. But let's say we are breathing down their necks. We can win this league. It's up to them to make the mistakes now. And let's be fair, yeah, we've seen last week they're a quality side, but we are just as good, if not a little bit better, in my opinion. So it is up to Stockport to make the mistakes now, Mark. And they're a tough game on Saturday, and they've got a tough running of games. They've got to be perfect. It's about time they have a dip in form. It's about time they have a dip in form, and I can't see us losing. And I can't see us losing at home, especially at the moment. Honestly, Mark, I've completely changed a little bit. I think we can win the league. Granted, if Stockport dip in form, but Mark, we're going to win the league. Stockport, we are coming for you.
Welcome over to the sensible side, good lad. I just would love to see all those little WhatsApp groups among the Stockport players after Saturday. They just had such a lovely run of battering everybody, and they rightly got the confidence that brings. And then after Saturday, they're all messaging each other saying, "Oh, hang on, Wrexham are better than us. Oh, this feels different." It does feel different, Stockport, because we are chasing you down. It's great fun, isn't it?
And it's going to be a crazy, crazy last home game of the season. Yeah. I can't wait for whatever this season brings, Mark, because it's been a real up and down. Anyway, it's time to wrap up the show now, Mark. Next Tuesday, we have a special Dragonheart out, which is like a documentary style thing that Mark's whipping up. I'm really excited to hear that. It's going to be from players, people who covered the game, fans, people who listened on the radio. I'm really looking forward to seeing the outcome of that, Mark. Thanks for producing it. Please follow Dragonheart on Instagram, Twitter. Please follow the official Wrexham AFC Twitter, YouTube. The AAAs have been absolutely booming, and a lot of the fans love them, rightly so. Some fantastic work by our media team.
Don't forget Quib and all, of course. Neil Williams' Welsh language podcast.
Of course, yeah. We've got the Final Whistle and the Welsh podcast. Yeah, it's booming on and off the field. Again, thank you very much, Mark, for joining me today.
Absolutely.
This has been Dragonheart.